June 24, 2009. This would be the very last night that Michael would grace the stage. Over the years, I've made many videos on the death hoax of Michael Jackson. In 2019, I'd like to take a look back on what built one of the biggest death hoaxes of them all. I hope you're ready, because it's time to travel back to 2009 and look at the many ways used tied to the Xscape Plan.
I don't know if I should tell you this, but I don't know who may be listening. There may be a group of people that want to get rid of me. They don't want me here anymore. They could shoot me. They could stab me. They could frame me and say I overdosed on drugs. They could do a lot of things. The government. I just want my children to be okay. My name is just
Those there were the highlights from Michael's last phone call on June 24th, 2009 with his longtime friend, Dieter Wisner. In that phone call, Michael voiced his fear on people being after him to cause him fatal harm. He said they could shoot me, stab me, or say that I overdosed on drugs. The overdose on drugs part of the phone call is what stood out as what was presented as a cause of death in a public trial against his doctor, Conrad Murray. But that's something to be discussed in a future video.
On Fox News Channel, the Los Angeles Times and the Associated Press are now reporting Michael Jackson has died in Los Angeles this afternoon.
On June 25th, 2009, lovers and haters of Michael Jackson would receive the shock of a lifetime when it would be announced publicly to the world that he had passed on, which leads to what this video is about, how the media was used to prep for Michael's escape. Starting with an article printed by well-known slanderous tabloid magazine, The National Enquirer. In their January 2009 issue, a story stating that Michael Jackson had exactly 6 months to live was put into their publication. Now, I know you'll say that we can't believe this tabloid, but in this one instance, we'd have to, being that Michael's public death will be announced exactly 6 months after the release of this article. According to the article, this story was leaked by a family friend, and I have strong beliefs and suspicions that this story was planted by Jermaine Jackson in preparation for Michael's escape. There is no way to prove who leaked this story, but there is no doubt in my mind that this story was definitely a plant. And there's no way that this was a coincidence that he would die 6 months exactly to the date of that article. This is Ben Evenstad of the National Photo Group on June 25, 2009. He would be known as the man who would take the last photo of Michael as the ambulance left the 100 Carrollwood Drive residence. The media would have a field day with this image as if this was actually Michael lying there on that stretcher being worked on by the 2 emergency workers. This photo is also a part of the escape plan, as this was to make the public death appear to be authentic. Truth be told, this photo is a fake and was photoshopped by Ben Evenstad. Here is the original pic and the supposed last pic taken of Michael. Take a hard look. You can see that Michael's face was photoshopped on top of the original photo. The photo used for that ambulance image was from Michael's Madison Square Garden concert for his 30th anniversary as a solo artist. This is when he laid down on the stage after performing You Rock My World. Also on June 25th, the sad news footage seen around the world of Michael's body being transferred from UCLA Medical Center to the coroner's van will be aired. All news publications airing this claim this to have been live, but as a video editor, it can clearly be seen that the footage had been tailored. The one part of this news report that fit into the Xscape Plan is the removal of the body from the helicopter to the coroner's van. In that footage, you can clearly see the shape of the body under the sheet change shape, as well as the sheet go from having a knot tied into it to it being tucked super tight underneath the body. The moving of the body from the helicopter to the van was only done in a few split seconds time. So how did such changes occur to the footage during this live stream by almost every national news network? The answer is, this was not live. There was no way that this was, being that this was heavily edited footage, so there was no way, shape, or form that this could have been live. This footage was tailored and sent to all the news publications, obviously through a media manipulation program. The networks wouldn't have gotten the footage without a special program secretly conducted by the CIA entitled Operation Mockingbird. This media manipulation program, created in the 1950s, was said to be shut down as of February 1976. But how can we be so sure? Stay tuned and be on the lookout for part 2 of the Xscape Plan, because there's more to come. Please continue to like, subscribe, and comment on these videos, and I'd like to thank all the moonwalkers who tuned into this video. If you'd like to donate in support of the Just Mr. P YouTube channel, or if you'd like to contact me via social media, I will leave the info in the description box down below. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you guys for part 2. So how did such changes occur to the footage during this live stream by almost every national news network? The answer is, this was not live. There was no way that this was, being that this was heavily edited footage, so there was no way, shape, or form that this could have been live. This footage was tailored and sent to all the news publications, obviously through a media manipulation program. The networks wouldn't have gotten the footage without a special program secretly conducted by the CIA entitled Operation Mockingbird. Operation Mockingbird is a large-scale program of the USA Central Intelligence Agency that began in the early 1950s and attempted to manipulate news media for propaganda purposes. According to the CIA, the doors to this program were shut as of February 1976. Despite the CIA would declare this operation to have been closed, there's plenty of evidence that shows the media manipulation program is still active. The program has evolved and is still currently being used, and I'd like to show you guys how with an example.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 This is how the media gets messages drummed into our brains by having network to network repeating exactly the same dialogues and scripts till what they're saying is eventually believable. That also goes for June 25th, 2009 and the news reports of Michael Jackson's death.
Michael Jackson has died.
Pop star Michael Jackson died this afternoon.
Michael Jackson, the amazing, gifted, superbly talented king of pop, is dead.
Pop star Michael Jackson has died.
Network to network repeated the same thing for hours after his death was announced by Jermaine Jackson. The news would be repeated so heavily to the point it overshadowed the death of another megastar, actress Farrah Fawcett.
While millions grieve for Michael Jackson, fans are also mourning the pin-up girl for a generation, actress Farrah Fawcett.
If this was not media manipulation, then someone stand up and please explain what it actually is.
Are we going somewhere? Hello? It's too late. You're my guest. And by the way, did I tell you I wasn't alone?
Hello Moonwalkers, this is your co-host Melissa, and this is part 2 of the Xscape Plan. Before the 25th of June 2009, before Michael faked his own death, rumours of Michael planning to fake his death had been around since the early 1990s. On the 29th of March 1994, the tabloid magazine called the Weekly World News published an article. It stated Michael was planning to fake his own death. Then on the 16th of June 1998, the Weekly World News magazine reprinted the same article. Despite we are told to never trust the tabloids have once again been one of the places that have had ties to Michael's escape plan. Just think about the tabloid article from the National Enquirer in January 2009.
Starting with an article printed by well-known slanderous tabloid magazine, the National Enquirer. In their January 2009 issue, a story stating that Michael Jackson had exactly 6 months to live was put into their publication.
Were they wrong about saying he had 6 months left to live? No. Being that his public passing would be exactly 6 months after that article. So why would the tabloid magazine, the Weekly World News, be wrong about Michael planning his death 15 years before he actually did it? Coincidence? I think not.
scene, this features tributes to Michael's 1988 film Moonwalker. In this film, Michael has a major battle with drug lord Frank Ladeo, who kidnaps and attempts to drug a young child named Katie under Michael's care with a powerful narcotic. After Michael defeats the bad guy, he flies away, leaving the kids wondering where he had gone and if he will ever come back. Towards the end of the film, young Katie clutches a paper star wishing for Michael to return. Moments later, Michael would appear in the shadows, revealing that he is still alive.
I'd like to make an additional statement, please, that Jermaine Jackson is the only spokesman for the Jackson family. There is no one else is authorized to make any statement on the family behalf except Jermaine Jackson.
With that being said, I will say that Tomei is right about Jermaine Jackson being the only spokesperson for the Jackson family at that time, but mainly for Michael. Let's explore that while taking a look back at an interview Jermaine conducted about his brother and potentially helping him escape.
During Michael's 2005 sexual abuse trial, Jermaine would try to support his brother again with a shocking plan, secretly chartering an airplane to fly Michael out of the country before the jury could render its verdict.
There was a plane. It could have been at a nearby airport. Where would it have taken Michael?
We would have gone to the Middle East, to Bahrain, to Saudi.
They would have put you in prison for the rest of your life if they had caught you doing that.
They wouldn't have caught me.
This interview clip with Jermaine was from September 2011 with ABC News. He admits to the interviewer that in 2005 he would have had a secret plane available to take Michael out of the country to Bahrain before the verdict from Michael's trial could be read. So with Jermaine Jackson willing to charter a plane in 2005 to aid Michael in a potential escape, why would it change in 2009? Jermaine is his brother's keeper and would do whatever it had taken to help Michael out of the dangers he knew were coming. Especially with those being two specific dangers that Jermaine brought into Michael's already fragile state when it came to trusting anyone.
Those two dangers came in the forms of royalty and a bogus manager, both introduced to Michael by his brother Jermaine. Starting with Sheikh Abdullah bin Hamid Al Khalifa and his connection to Michael. Michael and Sheikh Khalifa would come into contact through Jermaine. Jermaine and Sheikh Khalifa would meet back in the late 1980s while he was in Bahrain on a spiritual cleanse to convert to Islam. They became very good friends during that visit and remained good enough friends for Jermaine to introduce to his brother Michael, which in turn they had become good friends as well. In June 2005, after Michael's ultimate victory in that long fight to protect his innocence, he would pack up and move to Bahrain. During that time, Sheikh Khalifa would loan Michael £2.2 million, which is the equivalent to $2.4 million US, which helped pay Michael's legal fees here in the US, alongside the move to Bahrain. Also, Sheikh Khalifa would assist Michael with many business endeavors, including assisting Michael in the attempt to record a tribute song for the victims of Hurricane Katrina that would never be released. Michael would live in Bahrain from June 2005 to July 2006. This is when he would distance himself from Sheikh Khalifa and sever all business ties, which led to a lawsuit in London High Court, of which was settled for $8 million US. Michael would then move to Ireland for a short time period, then back home to Los Angeles. This resulted in him never returning to Neverland and now calling 100 North Carrollwood Drive home. Enter Dr. Tomei R. Tomei, a longtime friend of Jermaine's who tried to take over every aspect of Michael's life after he would take over the role of Michael's finance manager to end up being the full-fledged manager of everything that Michael conducted.
He had taken over Michael's complete life. He had taken over.
June Gatlin was Michael's spiritual advisor.
Michael was deathly afraid of him. That's an excellent word, deathly afraid.
What was Michael afraid of?
He was afraid of who this man is, afraid of whatever this man may or be capable of doing.
He would make virtually all decisions for Michael, deciding to and where Michael could go, whether Michael could see his own family members, forging Michael's signature on documents and checks for shady business practices. Michael feared Tomei as he didn't know what he was capable of. This is something he shared with his spiritual advisor, June Gatlin.
Last time we spoke, you told me to check on Dr. Tomei, and I did a complete checking. This guy, he just has ways about him that looks like see what he's done. He's built this divide between me and my representatives, and I don't talk to my lawyer, my accountant. I talk to him, and he talks to them. That's not good. I know it's not good. I don't like it. And I want to get somebody in there with him that I know and trust. I don't know what's in my accounts. I don't know.
Oh, that's not good, Michael.
I know that's not good.
You cannot allow somebody to just be in total control of your life.
I totally agree with that. That's why I'm calling you.
Michael knew something wasn't right with him, and he did some digging. First off, Dr. Tomei R. Tomei is not an actual doctor of any kind. Tomei claimed to be a consulate to the nation of Senegal when in turn, it will be discovered that no one there has heard of him when questioned. Also, Tomei would have no clients under his belt as a manager. Michael would be his first client. It's like he popped up out of thin air. Between the years of 2003 to 2009, Michael would never mentally recover after all that he experienced between the arrest, the trial, and losing almost every dollar spent in legal fees. This also includes the $8 million he had to pay out to Sheikh Khalifa, as well as the money lost behind Tomei and his monetary scamming. Michael eventually would fire Tomei, but he wouldn't go away. He would still conduct business under Michael's name the same way Yolanda Saldivar did to Latin pop star Selena just before she savagely murdered her. Tomei was acting the same way Yolanda did, like an obsessed fan who couldn't take rejection or no for an answer. These two men, Tomei and Sheikh Khalifa, are both people that Jermaine would bring into Michael's life that resulted in bad blood between Michael and the Sheikh over loans and incomplete music, while Jermaine bringing Tomei into Michael's life resulted in Michael being verbally and mentally controlled while also being scammed. With all that Michael has been through, not just including the dangers that he faced from Tomei and Sheikh Khalifa, but everything that he faced from 1993 to 2009, he, like anyone else, would reach a breaking point, the point of no return where his escape plan that was a rumor back in the early 1990s would become a reality on June 25th, 2009. This brings us back to his brother Jermaine as the official spokesperson at the time for Michael and the Jackson family. Jermaine being Michael's brother, as my co-host Melissa said towards the beginning of this video,
So with Jermaine Jackson willing to charter a plane in 2005 to aid Michael in a potential escape, Why would it change in 2009? Jermaine is his brother's keeper and would do whatever it had taken to help Michael out of the dangers he knew were coming.
Jermaine would secure a charter plane through Mexicana Airlines as they would prep to close their doors forever the following year in 2010 due to a bankruptcy. This is another part of Michael's escape plan and only the beginning of the story of how Michael actually made this death hoax happen. I want to thank my co-host Melissa for lending her voice to this project, and a big thank you to all the Moonwalkers who tuned into this video. Please continue to like, subscribe, and comment on these videos, and I will see you next time for the Escape Plan Part 3.
Tonight's story is somewhat unique and calls for a different kind of introduction.
I don't know if I should tell you this. There may be a group of people who don't want me here anymore. They could frame me and say I overdosed on drugs. I gotta go.
It was a hot summer day in June when Michael was preparing for the most grueling concert tour of his career. On the morning of June 25th,
But Michael was not with us way before he arrived to the airport.
No, that's not the case. Michael Jackson did not die from propofol.
I haven't talked about this, Robin, with anyone. And you have to forgive me, I have this thing where I tend to smile. But things kind of get a little painful.
Previously on the Xscape Plan, we discussed the National Enquirer and the role it played in leaking the story about Michael having 6 months to live, starting with an article printed by well-known slanderous tabloid magazine, the National Enquirer. That was January 2009. Michael would leave us officially on June 25th, 2009. We discussed how this death hoax could have happened 15 years before.
On the 29th of March, 1994, the tabloid magazine called the Weekly World News published an article. It stated Michael was planning to fake his own death,
but was awaited till June 2009, and how his brother Jermaine used his connections to make Michael's plan complete. Hello, Moonwalkers. This is your host, Darryl Wood, and this is the Escape Plan, Part 3. Something struck me to be odd on June 25th and the way Conrad Murray handled things as a medical professional. But before I get into the specifics, let's look at Dr. Conrad Murray's medical credentials. Before becoming a cardiologist, Conrad Murray studied internal medicine. Internal medicine specialists, also known as general internal medicine specialists or general medicine physicians, who are trained in the management of single to multi-organ diseases or treatments. Some of these organs included the kidneys, the brain, the spleen, the heart, and the lungs. So that brings a question to mind about Conrad Murray. But first, let's watch this video clip.
You saw Dr. Murray frantic, eyes wide, yelling. Did you think that a 12-year-old child was going to be able to assist this doctor with a problem with Michael?
I did what I was told. And
You what?
I did what I was told, and I went to get Prince.
Now I can ask that question. Why did Conrad Murray have Michael's cook call his 12-year-old son Prince instead of instantly calling emergency services? Well, during the summer of 2019, a confidant of the Jackson clan had reached out to me about why Prince was called into the room before emergency services were called. From what this source shared, before Michael actually left the 100 North Carrollwood Drive mansion, Michael had very little time before needing to exit the mansion. Michael wanted to see Prince before leaving, knowing that him being the oldest, that he understood as to why he had to leave. Paris was too young to really understand and was upset that her father was leaving. From what this source has revealed, that she could hear Paris and Blanket crying from the other room. The event started around 12:06 p.m., where Conrad Murray began to scream for the cook Alicia to get Prince. Prince would arrive to the room by 12:08 p.m. He and his father would speak for a few minutes, and Michael would leave the 100 North Carrollwood Drive mansion forever at 12:11 p.m. By 12:15 p.m., the house was in utter chaos with everyone panicking in every direction. Enter Michael's bodyguard, Alberto Alvarez. He would arrive to Michael's bedroom at 12:16 p.m. After minutes of arguing with Dr. Conrad Murray about him not calling emergency services, Alvarez pulls out his cell phone and calls emergency services himself.
Fire paramedic 33, what is the emergency? Yes, sir. I need an ambulance as soon as possible, sir. Okay, sir. What's your address? It's 100 North Carrollwood Drive, Los Angeles, California, 90077. Carrollwood? Carrollwood Drive, yes. Okay, sir. What's the phone number you're calling from? Okay, sir. And what's the problem exactly what happened? Sir, we have a gentleman here that needs help, and he's not breathing yet. He's not breathing, and we're trying to pump him, but he's not. Okay. Okay. How old is he? He's 50 years old, sir. 50. Okay. He's unconscious. He's not breathing. Yes, he's not breathing, sir. Okay, and he's not conscious either. He's not breathing. He's not conscious, sir. Okay. All right. Do you have him? Is he on the floor? Where's he at right now? He's on the bed, sir. He's on the bed. Okay, let's get him on the floor. Okay. Okay, let's get him down to the floor. I'm gonna help you with CPR right now. Okay. We need him. Yes, we're already on our way there. We're on our way. I'm gonna do as much as I can to help you over the phone. We're already on our way. Did anybody see him? Yes, we have a personal doctor here with him, sir. Oh, you have a doctor there? Yes, but he's not responding to anything. So no, he's not responding to CPR or anything, sir. Oh, okay. Well, we're on our way there. If your guys are doing CPR and you're instructed by a doctor, he has a higher authority than me, and he's there on scene. Okay. Did anybody witness what happened? No, just the doctor, sir. The doctor's been the only one here. Okay, so the doctor see what happened? Doctor, did you see what happened, sir? Sir, you just, if you can please. We're on our way. We're on our way. I'm just passing these questions on to my paramedics while they're on the way there, sir. Thank you, sir. He's pumping his chest, but he's not responding to anything, sir. Please. Okay. We're on our way. We're less than a mile away. We'll be there shortly. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, sir. Call us back if you need any help. Thank you. Yes, sir.
During the 911 call, Alberto Alvarez tells the 911 operator that Dr. Conrad Murray is doing CPR on the bed on Michael Jackson. Odd that he would do that, being that his medical studies have taught him otherwise. This is something I had spoken about in episode 1 of Unsolved, Michael Jackson is Alive. Now, next thing I noticed was the 911 caller says to the dispatcher that there is a doctor present. Now, this doctor is actually a licensed cardiologist at the time. Now, this doctor's name is Conrad Murray, who served as Michael Jackson's doctor during his time when he was rehearsing for the This Is It tour, which was supposed to be his final tour, period. Now, back to the second thing that I noticed in the 911 call. Now, the caller says there is a doctor in the room assisting Michael. Now, that doctor happens to be a cardiologist named Conrad Murray. Now, as a cardiologist, you would have had basic CPR knowledge where he would have pulled Michael out of the bed and onto the floor. Now, to do proper CPR, you would have actually had to have a hard surface under the person so the blood and the air can circulate through the person's body. I know this. I'm sure you all know or have heard about this, or we can all for sure certain say that Conrad Murray knows it as well. His medical credentials discussed earlier on in this video show that his early studies as a general medical physician afforded him the knowledge of the internal organs, which includes the lungs, as well as basic CPR training. Michael had been gone out of the mansion since 12:11 p.m., so whoever was still in Michael's bedroom as his double or doppelganger is still a mystery, and whoever that person was supposed to succumb to the poor, purposefully done medical treatment that Conrad Murray provided. His role was to be the fall guy as the killer of the King of Pop to the public, so that way Michael could make his escape to freedom. LaToya Jackson has publicly spoken, calling Conrad Murray the fall guy in a sense that would make the world believe he is truly gone.
Who gave Doc Murray the orders to kill Michael Jackson? Who gave the orders?
Yes, of course, he's the fall guy, absolutely.
He is the fall guy, all right.
Yes, and he knows exactly what he was ordered to do, and he followed those orders.
Who gave those orders, LaToya?
Follow the money trail.
What she really meant in that interview was Conrad Murray is a distraction, which was made and needed on June 25, 2009, to make the public death all the more believable by saying someone had killed him. Over the years, through my research to find out what really happened that day on June 25, 2009, Jermaine Jackson has always come up. In the last video, we discussed how Jermaine was part of bringing dangers into his brother's life despite all that he knew Michael was going through. He would be Michael's main source as to how Michael made it out of Los Angeles. I'll explain after this video clip.
This interview clip with Jermaine was from September 2011 with ABC News. He admits to the interviewer that in 2005 he would have had a secret plane available to take Michael out of the country to Bahrain before the verdict from Michael's trial could be read.
To continue on, everybody already knows or is aware about the LAX shutdown that allowed Michael to board flight MX-922 of Mexicana Airlines. He would board that flight around 1:35 p.m. and it would head to Guadalajara, Mexico. Also, according to the same source who provided information as to why 12-year-old Prince was called into Michael's bedroom that afternoon of June 25, 2009, she revealed that Flight 922 did indeed take Michael out of Los Angeles to Guadalajara, Mexico, in which he was taken to an undisclosed location on a second flight thereafter by his brother Jermaine. The way this was organized was by Jermaine contacting a businessman that he has heavy ties to, named Gaston Azcárraga Andrade, who received an undisclosed amount of funds to provide the flight out of Los Angeles and also help provide the power that was needed for the shutdown in LAX by having heavy security escort who they believed was Mexican President Felipe Calderon being transported from LA back to Mexico after one of his frequent visits there with President Barack Obama. That was the story that Gaston Azcárraga Andrade had provided to the Aviation Board of LAX previously to June 25th as a part of Michael's escape. Mexicana Airlines business would begin to fail later in 2009, with the company filing for bankruptcy in 2010. Then the doors officially closed on Mexicana Airlines on August 28, 2010, just one day before Michael's would-be 51st birthday.
The airport this morning checking out their gate. There's nothing going on at their desk, no signs of trouble, but also no passengers either. I've checked their schedule for the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks out, and you can't get any information on any of those flights. They just don't exist right now. And right now the airline, their flight attendants and pilots had a strike yesterday, a picket, if you will, at the airport in Mexico City. They're upset over negotiations that the airlines had with their employees. They're fearful of job cuts. The president of the pilots union was told by the airline that they may be filing for bankruptcy.
To where Michael headed after his escape from Los Angeles to Guadalajara, no one knows, but we do know that Michael did escape, and he is alive. This is it. Here we stand 10 years later, still trying to put together the pieces as to what really happened with the escape of Michael Jackson on June 25, 2009. Where will his escape plan take us next? Thank you, Moonwalkers, for tuning into this video. More will be coming soon, so continue to like, subscribe, and comment and share, and I'll see you for Xscape Plan Part 4.
What you have just witnessed could be the end of a particularly terrifying nightmare. It isn't. It's the beginning.
You're not a dish. You're a man. Most name brand bars and body washes you rub on.
Previously, on the Xscape Plan, we discussed the timeline between leading up to Michael's final moments at his North 100 Carrollwood Drive mansion before leaving for good. But what made him actually leave towards the biggest comeback in international history? This episode will tell the stories of enemies Michael had made along the way due to him outsmarting them during his long-standing career. This episode is also an eye-opener, so stay awake and don't dream, cause this is the Xscape Plan, Part 4. The Beatles catalog is one catalog that many people wanted to get their hands on, including Beatles group member Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney would give Michael advice about how much revenue he could gain if he owned the catalogs of other top-selling artists. After the advice was given, Michael joked and told Paul that one day, I'll own your songs.
To this day, McCartney earns 30% royalty on every Beatles song.
Are you with Rolling Stone?
But he doesn't own any of them. Michael Jackson does.
We wrote 2 songs together, and during lunch or something, he just took me aside and said, I'd like some advice. So I felt kind of big brotherly. You know, I'm quite a bit older than him. So I said, for a business, you ought to think about music publishing. It's because it's very good business. You love music. I'm into it. It does very well. It's a nice, easy business for a musician to be in. And it's a very rewarding business because it's music, it's songs, beautiful songs. So he kind of said, okay, you know, and that was the end of it. And then a couple of weeks later we were chatting and he just came up to me and said, I'm going to buy your songs, you know? And I went, yeah, great, you know, good one, and we just carried on. And then a few weeks after that he said, I'm going to buy your songs. I thought, well, it's a bit of an old joke by now, but very funny, all right, you know. And I still thought he was kidding, you know. And just a few weeks later, just somebody rang me up and said, Michael Jackson's bought Northern Songs.
It's your whole portfolio.
Oh, yeah, and that's where all the Beatles songs are. But, you know...
but it's not funny in a way to you, is it?
Well, no, it's not funny at all. But the thing is, there's nothing I can do about it. The fact that isn't funny was the fact that when we were 20, John and I, it was a kind of pretty ordinary publishing deal at the time. But they took the copyrights. So, you know, he bought that company, which was up for sale. There's nothing wrong with that. But I do intend to have a word with him. I spoke to him in L.A., actually.
You did?
Yeah, and said, look, we've got to come to a good understanding.
Michael would take Paul's advice about buying up others' catalogs, which led to him buying ATV for $47.5 million, which also included the Beatles' catalog of over 151 songs. This same advice that Paul gave bit him in the ass, which made him write constant letters to Michael asking him why he purchased the catalog, being that they were supposed to be good friends. Paul also wanted Michael to release the catalog, but Michael would eventually respond to Paul by letting him know that it was just strictly business. Paul refused to accept that answer, and he decided one way or another that he would acquire the Beatles catalog back from Michael. Between the years 1992 and 1995, it is said that Paul McCartney tried to file 2 lawsuits that both failed due to the U.S. law statutes that allowed Michael to retain ownership till he relinquished the catalog, or 56 years would have had to pass so Paul could legally sue for his catalog back. The failed attempts angered Paul and caused them to have disdain for Michael that he retained from speaking about publicly. Matters became worse once Michael sold half of ATV to Sony. This was one of the main reasons that Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson never spoke again. Enter Sony. In 1995, as owner of ATV, Michael would sell 50% of ATV to Sony, which merged the companies together, now being called Sony ATV. Michael already had issues with Sony, which I had explained in the Michael Tried to Warn Us series. Sony wasn't actually satisfied with only having 50% of one of the biggest music catalogs in the world, and having Michael be half owner of Sony was a major hit to Sony's publishing in their pockets, since Michael outsmarted them, and he would be getting half of all incoming revenue that Sony was gaining.
So I'm leaving Sony a free agent. Owning half of Sony. So I own half of Sony's publishing, and I'm leaving them, and they're very angry at me because of it.
They wanted more, which is why they pushed for Michael's career to fail by not promoting his albums. Michael would expose this, and this exposure only pushed for Sony to take even more drastic measures against him. The media was Michael's biggest enemy. Now, people will say that they could handle millions, if not billions, of people writing articles and creating TV media propaganda about your every move, where damn near all of the stories that were put out were always false and never highlighting the good that you were doing. The war with the media was brought to Michael in full attack once he left the Havenhurst compound to embark on his solo career. He would be bashed from every direction with false stories like the infamous hyperbaric chamber headline. Something good he did for burn victims like himself became the biggest joke that the media could release at the time.
You know, there is that argument that you rely on publicity to sell your albums, for your concerts.
When I approve of
want
something,
it.
yes.
But you can't always control the press. You can't approve of everything. You can't invite them in again and again, and then at a certain point close them out.
Yes, you can.
Michael would fight the media back with story plants of his own, and big media was so ignorant about the stories they put out, they actually believe they discovered them, when in fact they were plants just to show how easily manipulated the media could be. Michael learned how to toy with the media and gave them what they wanted until they went too far. He would eventually use the media the way they used him in preparation for making his escape. January 2009, as discussed in Part 1 of the Xscape Plan, a random article from the National Enquirer would surface with a blatant story plant of Michael having 6 months to live. The 6th month of the year, of course, is June, the same month that the public death would take place. Was the National Enquirer wrong about what was coming? No. This article was to prep us for what we was going to see later that year in June 2009.
These will be my final show performances in London. This will be it. This is it. And when I say this is it, it really means this is it.
By March 2009, Michael would announce to the world his big comeback with the This Is It concert series. But what we saw at that announcement was a slimmer Michael Jackson that appeared more thinner than usual. This weight loss was done to match up to the story planted in the National Enquirer about him not being well when in all actuality the man was extremely healthy. It goes a step further. During the final months, Michael also had doubles appear in public as well as in the This Is It rehearsals. One double is spotted out shopping in April 2009. When comparing hands to the real Michael, they just don't match. Michael's hands at the time were more on the wrinkled side as he was aged 50. Not only that, but Michael's nails are a dead giveaway. His nails still contain dark undertones from the melanin his body once had before the vitiligo completely had taken over. The double that was out in public in April 2009 on break from rehearsal was not Michael. Even in the This Is It movie, these doubles played an integral part in giving off the illusion of Michael not being healthy as a part of what was to come on June 25, 2009. I've spoken about Dr. Tomei R. Tomei and a few of these people in several other past videos, but just in case you missed it, I will go over it here. Now, Dr. Tomei, as he likes to be called, acted as Michael's manager during the time that the deal for the This Is It concerts were in the pre-stages of planning. The concert series would come to Michael through Tomei after Tomei had arranged for Michael to be helped out of his debt owed for the Neverland Ranch by using a contact of his named Thomas Barak of a company named Colony Capital. Michael would sell half the property to Colony Capital for $35 million, which put him in a permanent business tie with that company. Now Thomas Barak would contact Tomei in hopes of fully buying out the Neverland Ranch, but Michael would decline that offer. Another offer would come into play when Tomei and Thomas Barak would arrange a deal with AEG Live for the biggest comeback in musical history. This Is It was produced by Philip Anschutz and Brandy Randy Phillips through AEG Live, in which Michael was set to perform 10 shows for $55 million, while AEG, Randy Phillips, Tomei, and Thomas Barak had discussed adding on more shows onto the concert series, which now made it a total of 50 shows, still at the price of $50 million for Michael, while the rest of the show's producers were set to rake in an estimated amount somewhere around $125 to $150 million. This would have been the revenue garnered between ticket sales and souvenirs from these concerts. The shady part was, Michael only agreed to 10 shows. The other 40 were okayed by Dr. Tomei without the permission of Michael, through the forging of Michael's signature. Michael was told by his psychic advisor, June Gatlin, to check into Dr. Tomei. Michael did and knew that he had another enemy on his hands. Michael would fire Tomei, but Tomei continued to do business for Michael with AEG, being that the signature on the contracts that were signed was believed to be Michael's. Tomei managing Michael completely during the London tours was a part of the contract. Between Tomei scamming Michael and being physically abusive to him, as I stated in Xscape Plan Part 2, Michael also had AEG, Randy Phillips, and Thomas Barak against him and backing up Tomei in the bogus contract that left him binded to 50 shows to complete with not the right amount of money to show for it. Now this is the part of the video where fans will agree but more will disagree with what I'm about to say. As much as Michael loved us as fans, Michael was not a fan of touring despite he loved performing. This was something that he said himself in the past within an interview.
The record company usually like for you to support your album and go on tour. And I don't like to. I do like relating to the fans, giving the fans a chance to see you face to face.
Well, can we just do it again without just the negative saying that you don't like the tour? Just 'cause
I don't like it though.
I know, but
I go through
what
hell.
Is it setting up though? I don't know.
I go through hell touring. Okay, then
touring is
I'll make it positive then.
Yeah, it's just
For you know the truth.
Yeah.
Okay.
And action, Michael.
I love to tour.
In that interview, people will say that he was just joking around and speaking sarcastically, but that was definitely the reality, because touring always took its toll on his body each time that he prepared for one. Now, 50 shows was lightweight compared to the amounts of shows that Michael completed during past tours, but the money made during past tours was determined by himself and not by a bogus contract. Now, back to earlier on when I mentioned the doubles and appearance of Michael during the rehearsals. AEG in preparation for the tours had to insure Michael, but to be insured he had to pass a medical examination that all producers involved knew that he needed to pass. Although Michael was unhealthy, he arranged for a double to be the one to take the physical exam, which still declared him healthy even though the double used appeared to be very frail and unhealthy. This is something that the producers noticed but didn't care. This showed Michael just how far they would go to make $1 off his name despite he was supposed to have been sickly through the looks of this double, and this also showed how fast he needed to push his plan to escape to the forefront and leave this life as an entertainer behind for good. Also while outsmarting the ones who tried to leave him in more debt than he came into production with. Michael knows that in the music industry, that an artist's name is worth more dead than alive. This Xscape Plan video is connected to my This Is It series, which can be found on my channel. Thank you everyone for tuning into this video. Be on the lookout for a live This Is It Part 7 featuring Dove Angel D. Please continue to like, subscribe, and comment on these videos as more is coming, and I will see you guys next time. Take care, everyone.